Now, we have, and this, I think we should just, we've got to create a certain, hi Bob, we've got to create a certain institution in Long Island with the LaRouche movement. And I think that's why we're here today, all right? Because the world has become a pretty incredible place in the past week, all right? Everything, you have to look again and again with fresh eyes at what's happening in this country. I'm going to go through some of that, but I just want to really emphasize, again, we've been called onto the stage of history, right? I mean, this is it. It's live. It's not a game. It's not, there's nothing that's opinion-based about what's happening right now. Our people are being killed, and President Obama has embarked upon a policy of Holocaust. And that's not an exaggeration, and if anyone tells you what it is, they've got their head in the sand, okay? It's not an exaggeration. Our people are being killed. Our people are being murdered. Our people, your people, they belong to us. Now, I don't want to take long, but I do want to, because what we're going to go into is that Art Murphy is going to give some comments that should completely uplift you and give you a beautiful sense of where this human race is going to go. Because we're going to win. And now there we go. There's no guarantee that can be given, but you're not going to win unless you decide you're going to win. Right? So that's where we have to consider ourselves right now. Okay, so, but I want to talk about the question of leadership, because I've been to a series of events in the past week that have made it clear to me just what's lacking and where the opening is. Because what you're watching in the last week in particular is that the program of fear, the Mussolini-Hitler program of fear, is breaking down. Obama is taking hits like he has never taken before. Right? I mean, Bill Clinton turns against him, attacks him. I mean, look, this is significant, though. This is significant because Bill Clinton's actions, this is my analysis of it, Bill Clinton's actions have been on the basis of fear up until that point. Now, he's a pragmatist, right? He's an opportunist. The opening exists to turn on Obama, and 2 days later, Obama goes in front of the country and says, I apologize. You know, I mean, this is, and then, you know, there's no way for this to go. There's no solution coming from this. Obama can only bring himself down. I'm going to go through some more of that later.
Also, I might add that the New York Times keeps publishing pictures of him
looking like Nixon.
Look like miserable and very unhappy with his, instead of his lips going up this way and going down this way.
2 weeks ago, you had this thing in CNN.com. What did he know and when did he know it? This is Nixon stuff. I'm going to go through more of that. There's plenty more of that to go through that's worth understanding. But ultimately, it just comes down to leadership, because the very idea of leadership in this country has been destroyed, has been largely just stamped out. And that happened, as we know, through the death of Kennedy, through the murder of our great president, John F. Kennedy, and the cover-up that comes from that. That's what we're dealing with right now. And so I just want to go through a couple of things, because I'm telling you this, I'm standing before you as someone in my 20s. I'm standing before you as someone who has joined this movement within the past couple of years. Okay, 2 years ago, what is this? It's November? It's November. Okay, so 2 years ago, I was sitting outside in a playground, okay, in Harlem, watching kids, making sure that kids didn't fall off the swing set. Now, I love that. I was perfectly happy to do that. But then history calls on you to be a leader. And I stood in front of my kids and I told them, I was teaching middle school, I told them about the NDAA. This was 2011, winter of 2011, and the fact that Obama says he can throw you in jail if you're without a trial, if he calls you a terrorist. And I told the kids, if we don't protect the Constitution, then it's just going to be gone. And when I heard my own voice, when I heard what was said, then I realized that I had been called onto the stage, right? That you're brought on. If there's a cadre of people who recognize that your life changed the moment that Obama walked into the White House, that your mission is different now, that you have a mission, then we can win. it's not going to work unless that happens. Now, there's a lot of people in this room who have already taken that step, and I know this because of the work that we've done together. And what I know, I want to go through again, it's not a matter of numbers, it's a matter of leadership. We went to a series of events this past week that made this extremely clear to me. Monday, we went to an event, Howard and myself. Howard back there, he's now 21 just recently, and you get a round of applause for that. And a year ago, he joined this movement. All right, he left his college. He was studying civil engineering, and he decided to leave the college and become a part of this movement. All right, why? Because what has destroyed the country is cowardice. It is a fear of dissent. It is not an issue of. It's not a lot of what people talk about. It's not a lot of what people talk about. It's not. I don't think that like for example. We talk to a lot of people who are who are concerned about the food stamps. I just got to bring this up, right? Because what is happening? November 1st, Obama cut the food stamps. I mean, this is Obama's program. Go back and look at it. Okay, he's the one who took the money out, right? And he advocated for this amongst the Democrats and the Republicans. But by the end of the month, this month, his agricultural secretary, Vilsack, said, some people are going to have a hard time buying food. Yeah. Of course, a lot of people are going to be massively struggling. Everyone here, I think, probably happens to know this figure. 47 million people are on food stamps. You know what it was when Obama came in? 26 million. It's increased by 21 million in a matter of just, 5 years? Okay, now, at the end of the month, there's going to be people, and everyone in this room probably knows them, who aren't going to be able to have enough food. Money to buy food, excuse me. They're not going to have enough money to buy food.
I'll see one guy on the subway. He's like frantic.
Now, this is happening right now. Now, that's where you got to go to this idea. These are our people. We have to protect our people. This is what solidarity is. This is what leadership is. Think of that. This is happening right now. The head of the New York Food Bank said just a couple of weeks ago that this is how riots begin. People don't have enough access to food. Everyone says it's never going to happen in America. You're never going to have people rise up. We're about to run out of food. So I went to a series of events where I just want to, this question of being able to stand up and say the truth in the face of this culture that prevents dissent, in the face of this domination of popular opinion. That is what's going to make the difference today. We went to an event that was, Howard and I, we went to this thing at NYU, the Stern Business School. And it was a book signing by a guy named Howard Wallins, who was a manager on the Warren Commission, and he's written a book saying the Warren Commission is 100% right. Right? Saying, don't look at the man behind the curtain. The Warren Commission is A-OK. And anyone who would say differently is a conspiracy theorist, and therefore you're insane and blah blah blah. They literally say this. He literally went through that you have to be a psychopath to be a conspiracy and then he calls it a conspiracy theorist, right? This is the greatest crime that I had seen this week. Okay, there's been a lot of crimes, a lot of bad crimes, but there was a room full of students. 19, 20, 21. A guy stands up ostensibly to talk about Kennedy. And what does he say? He says, the Warren Commission, the Warren Commission, the Warren Commission. Believe what you're told. Believe what you're told. Believe what you're told. Don't question authority. Don't question authority. It began with the professor saying, students, we've talked a lot about truth in the past week and how there's different kinds of truth. And he said there's truth by, what did he say? Truth by empirics, by facts. So there's truth by authority, and there's truth by emotion. So immediately, the very idea of a principle of a higher truth is destroyed. This was a huge crime to the people, the young people in that room. At the end of it, he asked for questions, the author. Any questions? Any conspiracy theorists in the audience who might like to challenge this? And hold on for about. And the students didn't say anything. I was shocked. And then I realized I shouldn't be so shocked. Okay, that what happened was that there were a couple of questions coming from people who were like, with the author. Like his daughter asked the question, his son asked the question, the professor asked the question. The students didn't ask a question. There was one question from the students that I remember, and it was something that would clearly been fed by the professor. Okay, the reason I bring this up is because then what we did was we stood up and we said, what about this? What about the truth? And we went around to everyone in the audience and we said, why do only good presidents get killed? Answer that. And the best ones got it. And the best students got it. Later, we went to an event. Jessica and I and Robert Bobrick, Fred, Joel, many of the people in this room know them. We went to an event that was on the NSA surveillance. All right, this was a much even better example of what I'm talking about, of the power of leadership in the face of the fear of dissent. All right, what the discussion was about was you had Glenn Greenwald, who, if people don't know, Greenwald is the one who's been leaking Edward Snowden's material, right? He can't even come into the country because if he came into the country, he's liable to get, picked up by Obama. Okay, so he was speaking by video from Brazil, right? So what happened was that there was a whole discussion from these NSA experts about why is the surveillance state bad? Why is it bad that Obama can read your emails, your phones, whatever? Why is it bad that he can do this for 90% of the internet traffic of the world? Okay? And the overwhelming sort of idea was that it's intended for behavior modification, to make people afraid to speak up. And there was a novelist there who spoke, who was under the Chilean, under Pinochet, under that. And he said exactly the same thing. He said, now don't say to yourself, it can't happen here. Whatever you do, don't say that. Okay, so then at the end of this whole discussion, everyone's saying Obama is just terrible on surveillance. He's so much worse than Bush. He's killing Americans with drones unconstitutionally. He's doing all of these awful things, all this discussion happening, right? And then at the end, there were just question and answer. A lot of the questioners treated these people like they were celebrities. Okay, well, they're an expert. Final question, all of us were straining. And then the final question, Jessica White, sitting right here to my right, she had the opportunity to stand up and ask the question. And she said, in a very effective manner, she said, I think it's the citizens' fault that we let this happen under Bush, and he should have been impeached. And now it's looking like, seeing as Obama's complicit, seeing as he intends it all along, and he's aware of the intent, I think we're going to have to talk about impeaching Obama. And you had claps coming from every corner of the room. And it was a sense of incredible relief that someone would finally say the truth and give a solution. That someone would appeal to the idea of principle, to the idea of leadership. And this was in an audience on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. It's about the most liberal Democratic square in the United States, right? Most liberal Democratic square mile that there exists. And it was there that you had support for what Jessica had to say. And it was clear as soon as she said this, the moderator was an Obama State Department official, former Obama State Department official. And she said, well, that's a provocative question. She said, well, what do you guys think about this idea that we should, is there grounds for what she said? She wouldn't say the I word. Okay, so let me just bring this to the point on this. The idea of leadership has been attacked massively in this country. All right, it's been massively attacked. And I want you to reflect on how this relates to Lyndon LaRouche, our greatest statesman, the greatest statesman that this United States has, and how people attack it. In the same period I'm telling you about, when I was watching Kids on the Swings, I was talking to my roommate, and I said, man, he's right. Look at what LaRouche is saying. And we've got to do this, and we need a credit policy, and we've got to get Glass-Steagall, and we need to throw Obama out of the White House. And my friend said to me something like, hold on. You can't tell people how to live their lives. That's fascist. And then he also, and I said, no, you don't understand. This is what our great founding fathers have always done. This is what America is. This is our mission. And the guy said, hold on. You can't have heroes. You can't have heroes. Because if you have a hero, first of all, you're never going to live up to them. Second of all, they're no good anyway. And I'm not exaggerating. And this is a young, intelligent man with all the privilege he could possibly have, extremely educated. This is the crisis that's going on in our generation right now. So people turn and they see someone who is taking leadership and they say, oh, hold on. You're going to tell me what to do? You're going to tell me what to do? I got my own concerns. The issue is solidarity. It's leadership to bring people together around the needs of our people, the needs of your fellow man. And so it's from that standpoint that I just want to go through the reality as it stands today of the past week, which many people are plugged into, but this is changing rapidly. First of all, let me reiterate what LaRouche said last night in his webcast, which I strongly urge everyone to watch. He said, Obama is crashing. Okay, you are watching the downfall of Obama. You're watching the downfall of Obama. Okay, now think that through. And again, what does that mean about your purpose as a citizen? Because, look, this is LaRouche, he has a certain record. This is the guy who said in April of 2009, Obama, put the Hitler mustache on him. He is a Hitler. He is an Emperor Nero. And we're watching it happen. I mean, everyone, I don't even need to go through the effects of Obamacare. The issue is clear. Within a year, we're simply not going to have a health care delivery system. It doesn't really have anything to do with anything other than that. The physical ability to give health care to our people will be gone. Rural hospitals are shutting down. Charity care hospitals are shutting down. Doctors are being fired. Medics are being fired. Nurses are gone. This is an irreversible point. It's gotten that bad. The whole thing has changed. And in this context, the American people, they don't have anything left to be afraid about. All right? What are you going to what are you going to do? What worse could happen? At what point, this is the kind of point where, like the head of the New York Food Bank says, you're looking at the potential for a completely chaotic moment. So it's a choice. If there's leadership, we can have a movement. If there's not, there will be a mob. All right, so it's in this context that Obama is being hammered. And it's not like this is like the first in a while. Could I get to the end? Go ahead, Bob.
Like if you're putting like a brand name on LaRouche, it's good in a way because like he's the solution to this whole thing crashing. He's been talking about watch out, it's going to happen, it's going bad, it's not getting better.
Yeah.
So his brand name, if that gets out there like a brand name, like Campbell's soup or something. I don't.
Let me polemize directly against you. I disagree entirely. Okay.
I'm just saying that you have to have a name. You don't have to marry people rally around a name or something.
Okay, now that's useful. It's not a name. It's got to be a mind. It's got to be an idea. Bob, I know you're a great supporter. I'm not, but I am trying to challenge you on this. Look, the issue is clear. You have to get Glass-Steagall through, and you have to get Obama out. And that's going to happen because people take a certain leadership. And people are being forced into doing things they never thought they would have done. Do you think Bill Clinton ever thought he was going to go against Obama like this? Do you think that 39 Democrats thought that they were going to vote against Obama on Obamacare yesterday? People saw this, the opt-in bill to make it so that people can keep their health care. 39 Democrats broke with Obama. Yesterday there was a report that Adam Smith, the ranking Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, he said publicly, Obama doesn't come to policymakers in the Congress. You know how it works with Obama? I'm quoting, I'm paraphrasing, but this is very close to what he said exactly. He said, they decide on the policy, they announce it, then they come to us. He said, I get it. They don't trust us. That's what the Congress says. Maybe let's see what the military says. There was a major, a new magazine is being created under the group Politico. You know, Political, they have a website and a newspaper, I believe. The inaugural issue is, the feature story is Obama versus the generals. And the discussion is, in fact, there's a woman who goes around and speaks to high-level generals, and she says, who does Obama speak to in the military? You know, who is he close with? Who would he pick up the phone and talk to about policy? And the response these guys, they wouldn't speak on record. The response was a long silence. That was the response. A long silence, an eye roll. Okay, nothing. He doesn't talk to the military. They even said he prefers the military to be seen, not heard. Okay, so there's the military. Now, but surely the intelligence community is with him. Surely he's got that as a bulwark, right? Edward Snowden has done a superb job. And he's not the only one. LaRouche said about two weeks ago, maybe it was a month ago, there will be more Snowdens. Just yesterday, there was a report in the New York Times that the CIA is now monitoring all money transfers, international money transfers, or 90% of them or something. Okay? And this was leaked not by Snowden, but by other courageous whistleblowers who are coming out, despite the fact that Obama has prosecuted more whistleblowers than all other presidents combined. Okay? So courage is contagious. And what you're watching here is that every possible sector is breaking down. How about the liberal media? Okay, well, this is the media that CNN.com ran a front page last week, said Obamacare, NSA, Benghazi Gate. What did he know and when did he know it? That's the Nixon line. Take a look at the New York Times. I mean, really, just look at the New York Times from yesterday. It's exactly what Evelyn said. It's got a big picture of Obama going, and they're the ones who have been printing the exposés on Obamacare, which has been showing that the people who supposedly, Obama cares about are being destroyed by this. The people who need health care most are the ones who are getting most attacked by the law. All right, so that being said, what is the solution? Here's what LaRouche had to say last night. Obama has fallen at a precipitous rate. He's ready to be virtually thrown out of office at some early time. Now that means that we are closer to Glass-Steagall than most people have ever thought we would become in recent years. So I'm going to try to, let's see. Okay, I'm going to take about another 10 minutes, a little bit more maybe, to cap this off. In this week where Obama has been massively attacked, as I went through, and there's a lot more than that. There's a lot more than that. And people just know. I can just tell you, like the main thing I can tell you that's probably more significant than all of this is that the people in the street hate the guy. The hate for Obama is massive. You've probably seen the report that 52% of Americans think he's untrustworthy, think he's a liar, right? This is not, okay, so, all right. What does he represent? Because it's not Obama. Let's flip it here. Obama is not the problem. He's not the enemy, in a sense. He's a tool of the enemy. Okay, who does Obama represent? He represents an oligarchy. Oligarchy means rule by the few, right? And this is the system that goes back for thousands of years, that this United States was founded to destroy. Okay, goes back to the question of leadership. If you want to have leadership, you have to have a mission. LaRouche says last night, the function of the United States is to destroy the oligarchical system by assisting other people in other parts of the world to find out the same freedom that we give for ourselves. This has been lost, this idea that we're going to free people from a system where, think about the world today. How many people are hungry? Anyone know? A billion. At least a billion. Much more than that, I'm sure, but at least a billion according to recent.
plenty of food.
How many, yes, thank you. How many people are without water, clean water?
Oh,
Forget it.
Over 1 billion, maybe 1.5 billion. How many people are without electricity? 1 billion. What is, okay, these are problems that can be solved. These are problems that must be solved. That's what makes us American, is that we choose to solve them. That's what gives us a right to call us Americans, call ourselves Americans. So how are you going to do that? First of all, where is the enemy? If it's not Obama, if he's just the face of the enemy, what is the enemy? Let me go through a very brief story on this, because it goes straight to Glass-Steagall. 1999, the Glass-Steagall law is repealed. Since then, the derivatives bubble has exploded, completely exploded. I don't have access to a couple of charts, but if you go to the webcast of last night, you'll see an excellent presentation on this. I'll just go over it briefly. The speculative bubble is currently at least $1.5 quadrillion worth of derivatives. Now, what the hell is a derivative? I mean, like, what is this? It's nothing more than gambling paper.
Casino.
Yeah, it's a casino. It's nothing more than gambling paper. It's like monopoly money. And it's not the stocks, like the stock, everyone knows that the Dow Jones is a bubble. The stocks are a minute amount of the speculative bubble. The debt is a minute amount of the speculative bubble. It's the derivatives. These 6 big banks on Wall Street are trading with the European banks in the city of London and in Germany and in Switzerland and all over, in Spain. And they're trading, let me give you an example to make it very clear. In the past recent decade, we've printed about $4 trillion at the Federal Reserve. This is known as the quantitative easing policy. The idea of the quantitative easing policy was that it was going to increase lending into the real economy. That hasn't happened. Bank deposits have increased in that same period by $3 trillion. Okay, so the money's going somewhere. It's going straight into the banks. Bank lending into the economy has collapsed by $1 trillion. So this policy of printing money is destroying our people. All you have to do is look at the hyperinflation of basic commodities. Heating oil, it's tripled in the past 10 years. You know, basic grocery items have essentially doubled, every single one of them. Everyone is aware of this. There's no, everyone knows it. So, okay. So what is that? Who did that? Why did they do it? This was a program to do that which is the intention of the people on this planet who think that they are the gods and they think that we're the farm animals. The program is to destroy the only threat to this system, which is the United States and the United States Constitution. The program is to kill off our people. And as I said at the outset, it's not an exaggeration. It's happening. This is a Holocaust. All right? This is happening. Okay? So that this is the intention. And it's taking us to a threat that is worse than Weimar, a collapse that is worse than Weimar. All right? That's sort of where I want to take this. I guess I'll probably wrap up there. What we must do is restore the Glass-Steagall law, which would bankrupt the bastards who put Obama in, bankrupt the bastards who have created the situation. We're going to take this mass of derivatives of worthless monopoly money, and we're going to flush it down the toilet. And that's how this thing functions. And at that point, and only that point, when you've stopped the bleeding, and when you've crushed the institutions of evil in this country, can you restore a Franklin Roosevelt program of credit system recovery measures. And this is what I'm talking about. I just overheard Marie talking about how she knows someone who went under Roosevelt, was with the WPA and supported the whole family on a secretary's salary through the WPA in the middle of the Great Depression. We are in the middle of the greatest depression the country has seen, the greatest economic collapse. It's onrushing. All right? We have to protect our people. You're going to need to extend long-term credit towards building great projects to lift man up as a whole. And that's what Art Murphy is going to go through in this next presentation, is where is this going to take us? So urgently what I want to leave people with is the idea that this movement has defined the policy. It begins with impeachment and Glass-Steagall. Nothing can be done without those two measures. You've got a lot to do afterwards, but nothing can be done without those two measures. In the recent, allow me to finish, Bob. In the recent period, we have been remarkably successful on Glass-Steagall. This is the same fight as impeaching Obama, and I'll give you a couple of examples of how. In June, in the first half of the year, we've got 25 states that have introduced resolutions on Glass-Steagall. We've got it in the House. In May, we got it in the Senate. In June, we got another bill in the Senate, sponsored by Elizabeth Warren. All right? By the time we get to today, we've been through battle after battle after battle directly with the people that I'm talking about, these institutions of the oligarchy like J.P. Morgan. Back in June, we had a state Senate hearing in Delaware at the state legislature. We figured it was on the topic of Glass-Steagall. We said, okay, well, let's see who shows up. We showed up, our activists showed up, a community banker showed up, and for the first time, J.P. Morgan's lobbyists showed up. Well, it was 6 different banks showed up as well. Yeah, it was Wells Fargo, maybe not 6, but several of them. Anyway, they showed up to have to say publicly in their own name, you can't do Glass-Steagall. Stick with Dodd-Frank. Stick with the program of genocide. That's what it is, where they take people's money out of their bank accounts, as was done in Cyprus, where they steal straight from them. So then later in Texas, where we were doing a lot of work, where Keisha Rogers, our candidate for Congress twice, has won the Democratic primary. In Texas, Jamie Dimon personally visited and spoke to Rick Perry, and this was in the newspaper as I understand it, and said, if you talk about stricter banking regulation in the state legislature here, we're going to take 30,000 jobs out of your state. That was also the threat in Delaware. The guy literally said, J.P. Morgan has 26,000 jobs in this state. Sure would be a shame if you went through with stricter bank regulations, because we'd probably have to leave. Then California, we get a state resolution introduced. Big success, because California is an extremely difficult, very dysfunctional state. But you had a Tea Party Republican and a liberal Democrat come together on the Glass-Steagall resolution. What came of this? J.P. Morgan under the American Bankers Association, which is one of the major lobbyist groups, they sent a letter to people in the California state legislature saying, do you really want to associate yourself with LaRouche? This is a LaRouche bill. First of all, Glass-Steagall isn't necessary, but really, you should be concerned about being associated with LaRouche. Political extremist Lyndon LaRouche, whatever the hell they want to say. So this was another direct attack against us, because we've been fighting, we've been successful. You go to September, we narrowly avoided a World War III scenario by preventing Obama from going to war in Syria. He wanted to go on his own. That is what Lyndon LaRouche has been talking about since Gaddafi was murdered. We've been saying Obama's going to go into Syria next. Many members of the movement in this room took their 2 Christmases in a row to deploy next to churches, saying, stop Obama's World War III from happening. He's going for Syria next. That's what he tried to do. At that point, Elizabeth Warren, who sponsored the Senate bill, she gave a speech at the AFL-CIO conference, National AFL-CIO conference in California and in Los Angeles. She said, we need Glass-Steagall. Dodd-Frank is pointless. We need Glass-Steagall. Obama was going to go and upstage her, but he had to stay around in Washington because of the Syria crisis. And as that head of steam was building and building and building, then you got this chaos operation known as the government shutdown. And this was a big confusion thing, a lot of, smoke and mirrors, right? People saying it's about this, it's about that. But really, what was it? There's a group called the Financial Services Forum that is the largest lobbyist group in the country. It is made up of 17 CIOs of the 17 biggest financial institutions in the country. The chairman is Lloyd Blankfein of Goldman Sachs. The vice chair is Brian Moynihan, CEO of Bank of America. They met with Obama on October 2nd. They said, you're going to stick with this program. You're going to kill off Americans. You're going to pass cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts. And you're going to prevent anything from happening on the government shutdown. And then after, that same day, after he met with the Financial Services Forum, people who demanded to go with the policies of austerity and said no Glass-Steagall. Then, after he met with them, then he met with the people, the congressional leaders. And then again, he met with them on November 5th, the same group. And they said, we don't give a damn about any website problems. You're going to stick with Obamacare. This is our policy. And that's where we stand today. This week, because of the attacks on Obama, we've had breaks on Glass-Steagall. Elizabeth Warren came out with a very strong speech that was shown on CNN, very widely seen, calling for Glass-Steagall before the next crisis. We had Karen Bass, who's a real Obama supporter. She's from East LA, African-American congresswoman with an African-American base. She signed on to Glass-Steagall despite the fact that Obama has explicitly warned the Congressional Black Caucus not to sign on. There is a potential for leadership. And it's got to be that the few of us who can stand up and say what must be said without the fear. It's got to be a sense of the mission of the United States, and that that's who you are, and that that's why we are part of this country. So that's what I wanted to open with, and I hope to open the stage for Art Murphy, who's going to give a great presentation.